welcome to working with Google Forms, very much like spreadsheets in many respects that you will discover, but of its own design and its own implementation possibilities. You begin making a form much in the way that you would begin making just about anything else in Google Docs with the giant Create button that you're going to find over here on the left-hand side. Once you click on that, you go down past Documents, Presentations, Spreadsheets, and you land yourself on the Form option. Click on that, and a very simple dialog pops up for you here asking you and even giving you hints about what it is you should put in here. And this is the example question area that you get right away. And you're going to see how to create more questions here in just 1 second, but we're going to call this form testing. And we can say you can include any text that you want in here. I could say, please answer all questions. By default, by the way, there's going to be a little blip in here about answering any questions, or that all questions with a little red asterisk by them are required. So you don't have to put that part in this little discussion or this little information blurb at the top of your form. However, you could, if you wanted to do it for emphasis, add that statement again that anything with an asterisk is a required field and must be answered. But we're just going to leave it at this for now. Please answer. Once we get this portion taken care of, this header up here at the top is really just, like I said, a header. It's where you're going to have the form name and some general information about the entire form. This section in the yellow down here is now the actual first question that you can deal with. And when we say we're making a form, we're really creating anything that could be a form that collects data or a questionnaire. And you'll see in the future, this could even be potential for quiz questioning for classroom use or any other use that you may want to quiz or retrieve data or receive data from people. So we're going to put a title in. What is your favorite color? There we go. So we have what's your favorite color? Help text might be like red or... So we're just giving them a hint about, like, okay, what kind of color do I want? And you can rationalize that there's a zillion different help texts that you could give them. For instance, if we pick from a different type, like a radio button type where they can pick multiple questions, we could give a help text of pick up to 4 options or pick no less than 7 options. We can certainly give any kind of help text here that we could dream of. We're going to leave the question type as text, but I'm going to use this little drop down just to show you that there are other options, but we're going to go with the most simple, straightforward option at this point, which is the default text option. And their answer is going to come in the form of a short phrase or word or what have you, whatever will fit into a small area, as indicated by this little opening right here where it says their answer. You don't do anything with that area, but you have the final option of making this required or not with this little checkbox down here. If this is a question that you absolutely have to have input on, or if this is part of a quiz, well, obviously they have to answer this question. So I'm going to put a check mark in there, and when I'm completely finished, I hit the done button. Now you're going to see my question has actually popped up on the screen. I have a what is your favorite color with the help text underneath it. And then this box right here is where students can come in and type in whatever their favorite color is. Now we're going to go down here to sample question number 2, which looks markedly different than the first sample question, only because we're in the finished state already. But you'll notice as I hover over each of these questions, they highlight in yellow, and hopefully you've noticed over here on the right hand side, I now have 3 brand new options for me as I hover over them. If I hover over question 1, I have the same 3 options, which are edit, duplicate, and throw away or trash, delete. In this case, sample question number 2 is pretty generic, and I want to edit it. So I click on the little pencil button, and now this looks familiar to us. We have something that looks very similar to what we had in question number 1, but in this case I'm going to say, what is your favorite, how about ice cream this time? But maybe I do not want to give these individuals as many options or leave it as wide open as I had done before, and I want to restrict them to a certain set of options or a list to pick from. I can say pick from the list below, And you'll notice I have no list below because I haven't created or decided to pick that question type or style, but now I'm going to go down here and choose from a list. Once I pick that option, suddenly a set of dialog boxes pop up here for me to begin putting a list in. My list right now consists of one entire box, which is not much of a list at all, but as soon as you hit enter or tab, you'll have another list option added for you, or you can just go down here and click and it will add another option. But I'm going to put chocolate, I suppose, and I could keep going and going and going and give them as many options as I wanted, but maybe this one is not required, so when I'm done I come over here and I hit done, finish, or complete. Now you'll notice I have two different types of questions here. I have the what is your favorite color and what is your favorite ice cream, spelled incorrectly in both cases. Actually, I have tons of spelling mistakes, but that's nice. Or that isn't nice, but it's nice that I can come back in here and edit this at any time and actually change the spelling and correct my mistakes and make this much less of a nuisance or a worry as I'm developing the content. So that's how you edit or modify or change things, but how in the world do you add a brand new option or new item? Well, it's right up here in the upper left hand corner where you see the giant green plus button, and I can add an item. Once I pick add item, it instantly gives me the option to pick from the different quiz questions or form questions that I will have later on. I could pick right now the paragraph text, which is exactly what I'm going to pick. But before I even do that, I want to go down here to the other section, which is something you will not get after you've created the question. That's not something you can change your question to. To illustrate my point, I'll show you right here. Within this question, I can change my text to be a paragraph text, scale, grid, or all those other choices, but you'll notice there is no such thing as the section header or page break. Those two pieces right here are very similar to what we have filled out here at the top. This is a page header followed by a page header information bar basically, and I could add another one of those like by adding a page break or section header, and it will throw in just a generic information piece underneath my questions. But for this time I'm going to create the paragraph text, and I'm going to move pretty quickly here. I'll call tell me something, and you're going to start noticing that I can't type, but also that there's a much larger text box here for people to respond in. And this is a very wide open question, and I could make it necessary for them to fill out before they can move on by saying it's required, hit done, and now I have my three different quiz or form question types. Just to illustrate how the other ones work, I'm going to move very quickly and say I'll pick a multiple choice here, and what is a form? Which I suppose could be correct also. That's a question. And I could say I can go to a page based on my answer. This may not make a lot of sense right now, but if you put a page break in, this would become much more sensible, because then you'll have multiple pages to which the user or the end user can actually jump to after they have answered or responded to a question in a certain way. If you want to use this as an actual multiple choice question where students can fill something in and have a right or wrong answer, you're going to need to use third-party plugins like Flubberoo in order to make this a yes or no, or a right or wrong answer rather. The interesting part about the multiple choice at this point is that you can also add the other option. If you put the other option in there, that gives the person taking the form or filling out the form the option to write in their own response. Obviously not ideal if you're using this as a quiz piece, but great if you're trying to collect data from people and you can't think of all the options that they might be able to think of. Now you can see the 4 different quiz question or form question types that I've created, and I'm going to come up here and create a checkbox, and I can say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There we go. If you have more than 8, good for you. Maybe I want to put it in other so that people could write in 22 if that indeed is the case, and I will make this a required option. Now you'll notice that people can put a check mark next to whichever applies to them. So we're almost done creating all the different types here. Choose from a list. We did already. Scale is pretty simple. You can pick your scale to go from 0 up to 10, and you could say, how would you rate this form? question mark. And down here I might say horrible, or I might just say terrible actually. And here I might say fantastic again. And I'll make this absolute. And now it says, how would you rate this form? And you can see right here you have a linear scale from 0 to fantastic. And the very last one here is called the grid, which is a combination of a list and a scale built in one. So if I say rate the following, I could actually put in some help text if I want to, but I'm going to have 3 columns instead of 5. And in this column it might say, and my first item that I want them to rank would be food, internet. There we go. Should be a capital I. That's all right. People will forgive me. You'll notice that I have nothing in this option right here. It's left blank by accident. Watch what happens when I do that and make this necessary. You'll notice that someone can rank food as great, okay, or poor, all the way down here. School is great, okay, or poor. And you'll even notice that by accident, because I didn't have anything typed in that column, it still gives me an option to rank nothing. You'll also notice that the radio buttons do not allow somebody to pick more than one radio button at a time, which is fantastic.